Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Hard. We are wrapping up our show on this Thursday evening, or Tuesday evening. Thank you guys so much for joining us, talking about the 2023 Atlanta Falcons, and now we're moving on to their floor. We just talked about their ceiling. Now, if everything goes wrong, what is the floor? Now, I think there's two ways you could look at it, but I think let's just imagine that, listen, health. Because, things can get out of whack if you get struck by the injury bug, the floor can look a lot worse. But let's assume we're not just battered by tons of injuries. But there are ways that, listen, this offensive line depth, thin as paper. One of those guys goes down, you're in some trouble. That cornerback depth without Jeff Okudah, thin as paper. One of those guys, that linebacker room, just Caden Ellis and Troy Anderson. There's a lot of groups here that are thin, that are one injury away where you're in some trouble. And, obviously you lose Desmond Ridder or someone like that. Wide receiver, you lose Drake London. Now is who's there. So there's a lot of ways that this could get to where we're at a floor. I could see a floor being 5-6 wins. I definitely don't think it's by any means the ceiling, but there's some thin roster areas, and this is what we're talking about when we're talking about the what ifs. There's also the injury thing, and there's a lot of thin rooms, a lot of thin position groups, and that's what scares me the most.
Yeah, I think, honestly, if Desmond Ridder goes down, there might be a boost for the offense depending on how he works out. Taylor Heineke's the guy. I love Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, obviously, the other ones I'm more worried about.
Yes,
the
definitely.
Wide receiver, the linebackers,
I think the biggest thing holding this team back is going to be, outside of injuries, obviously, everything that you name is very valid and should be concerning. We'll see how they handle final roster cuts. But it's the outlook at the quarterback position and what Desmond Ridder can and can't do. We've only seen one drive of him for real, and I know everybody goes back to the 4-game sample size. That's a much different offense than this one. It really is. Kyle Pitts wasn't even there. Jonnu Smith wasn't there. Bijan Robinson wasn't there. I really, really do think, and that offense was a little bit more catered to Marcus Mariota, whereas this one, it's a little bit different of a system. It's a mix of the 2021 offense with Matt Ryan and the 2022 offense with Marcus Mariota. It's kind of blending those, so it's going to be a new look offense. I think it's got to be Desmond Ridder. He falls on his face. The Falcons are going to lose some games they shouldn't be, and we're going to be right back in the same place we were last year with Mariota, where the quarterback position is holding us back.
Yeah. I think the quarterback system, that's the easy one. I think for me, more than the quarterback, because I believe Desmond Ridder is at least on par with Taylor Heineke. That's just what I think he can be better. I think he can be much better than Taylor Heineke. But I think either one of those guys starting, I feel decently that they can handle what Arthur Smith's going to ask of him. I think the biggest thing to me is just the depth. I really think, because injuries are going to rise. It is inevitable. We've already seen it. Guys are going to get injured. And this depth on the offensive line really scares me. The cornerback room, the wide receiver room, linebackers. One or two of those guys goes down, you have a much different feeling about this defense or this offense than you did at the beginning of the season.
Here's another one for you, one that maybe some people aren't thinking about is Ryan Nielsen. First time, full time. It's his defense. He's going to coordinate it. He was a co-defensive coordinator in New Orleans, and he's got a bunch of new faces. All of these guys are new. Most of them are new, I will say. They overhauled the defense completely. They're either new to Atlanta or they're new to a starting role, and that could be something that could take some time to gel.
For sure. This defense could definitely take some time to gel. A lot of new faces, including the defensive coordinator. That wraps up our show on this Tuesday evening. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be back with you on Wednesday.